dim glow of their lanterns, deep within the heart of a forgotten cave, nestled in the rugged Peruvian mountains, a team of archaeologists made a discovery that would shatter everything they thought they knew about history. The air was thick with dust and mystery as they meticulously brushed away layers of sediment, their fingers trembling with anticipation. Then, in the flickering light, something extraordinary emerged. A colossal femur, half buried in the earth, its size far surpassing that of any known human or animal. It jutted from the ground like the relic of a lost civilization, a silent testament to an age long erased from memory. Whispers filled the cavern as the team exchanged bewildered glances. Could this be real? Had they truly uncovered evidence of a forgotten race of giants? The thought sent a shiver down their spines. With each careful movement, they unearthed more: massive ribs, an elongated skull, hands that seemed built to wield weapons of unimaginable scale. It was a skeleton unlike any ever recorded, its sheer size defying logic and rewriting the boundaries of human history. Yet, as their excitement grew, so too did an inexplicable sense of unease. There was something unsettling about this discovery, something that stirred an ancient fear buried deep within their subconscious. The cave walls, adorned with faded petroglyphs, seemed to whisper forgotten warnings, tales of a time when titans roamed the earth. Had they disturbed something meant to remain hidden? Were they unearthing more than just bones? Perhaps an ancient secret best left undisturbed. The deeper they dug, the more questions arose. Who was the giant of the Andes? Was it a lost branch of humanity, or something far older and more enigmatic? As the realization set in, the archaeologists knew one thing for certain: history, as they knew it, would never be the same again. The bones were not just large, they were colossal, so massive that even the tallest human would have been dwarfed in their presence. As the archaeologists stood before the skeletal remains, their minds struggled to grasp the sheer scale of what they had uncovered. The femur alone suggested a being that once stood over 15 feet tall, its frame built with a strength beyond anything seen in known history. The ribcage was broad and powerful, its curvature hinting at a chest capable of holding lungs far larger than those of any known species. And then there was the skull, elongated, almost regal in shape, with deep-set eye sockets that seemed to stare into the very souls of those who gazed upon them. As word of the discovery spread, skeptics rushed to offer explanations. Some argued that the bones belonged to an extinct species of megafauna, perhaps a prehistoric ape or an unknown branch of hominids. Others dismissed the find as a mere anomaly, the result of geological distortions or a long-forgotten hoax. But the archaeologists, standing before the undeniable evidence, knew otherwise. These remains bore characteristics unlike any creature catalogued in the annals of science. The structure of the limbs, the strange, almost artistic patterns carved into the bones. These were not the marks of a beast, but of something intelligent, something aware. More unsettling still were the artifacts buried alongside the skeleton. Fragments of tools, their edges worn but unmistakably crafted with precision, hinted at an advanced knowledge of metallurgy and engineering. Strange symbols, etched into both bone and stone, depicted figures towering over smaller humans, their arms raised in what could only be interpreted as reverence, or perhaps fear. What civilization had left behind such a legacy? What stories had been lost to time, swallowed by the shifting earth, and buried beneath centuries of dust? As the team pieced together the mystery, a chilling realization settled over them. This was not merely an extinct creature. It was something greater, something that had once lived, breathed, and perhaps even ruled. The implications were staggering. If these beings had once walked the earth, what had happened to them? And more importantly, was their legacy truly lost? Or was it waiting, hidden in the shadows of history, for the world to remember once more? As word of the discovery spread like wildfire, it reignited age-old theories that had long been dismissed as fringe speculation. Historians, scientists, and conspiracy theorists alike found themselves drawn into heated debates, each attempting to unravel the mystery behind the so-called giant of the Andes. But it was the public's imagination that truly took flight. Whispers of lost civilizations and forbidden history swirled through online forums and late-night radio broadcasts. Ancient alien theorists seized upon the discovery, claiming it was irrefutable proof that humanity had once been visited, perhaps even guided, by beings from beyond the stars. The evidence, they argued, was compelling. The sheer size of the skeletal remains defied conventional anthropology, challenging everything known about human evolution. Even more intriguing were the intricate carvings found etched into the bones. Patterns that bore an uncanny resemblance to celestial constellations, as if the being had carried knowledge of the heavens within its very frame. Some believe these giants had not merely walked among early humans, but had ruled over them, their advanced wisdom shaping the course of civilization in ways long forgotten. Speculation deepened as connections were drawn to ancient myths from around the world. The Nephilim of biblical lore, the Anunnaki of Sumerian legend, the Viracocha of Andean mythology. Stories of towering godlike beings had persisted for millennia. Could these accounts have been more than mere folklore? Could they have been distorted echoes of a forgotten truth? The idea that these giants were interstellar visitors, beings who had come to Earth in ages past, leaving behind their remains as silent testimony to their existence, was both exhilarating and unsettling. It blurred the boundaries between myth and reality, forcing humanity to confront the possibility that history was far more complex than ever imagined. But if these beings had once roamed the earth, the question remained: what had become of them? Had they perished in some cataclysmic event, wiped from existence by the passage of time? Or had they merely withdrawn, retreating into the shadows, waiting for the right moment to reclaim their place in the world? The discovery was no longer just an archaeological breakthrough. It was a mystery that threatened to rewrite history itself. The archaeologists, driven by an insatiable thirst for answers, delved deeper into their research. Their discovery had already sent shockwaves through the scientific community, but they were convinced that the true significance of their find was far greater than anyone had imagined. As they pored over ancient texts, deciphered cryptic symbols, and unearthed forgotten relics, a chilling pattern began to emerge, one that spanned continents and civilizations, weaving together the myths and histories of humanity like threads in a grand cosmic tapestry. In the ruins of Mesopotamia, they uncovered cuneiform tablets dating back thousands of years, inscribed with accounts of celestial beings known as the Watchers. These entities, according to legend, descended from the heavens and walked among mortals, imparting forbidden knowledge to early civilizations. Were these just symbolic tales, Or could they be records of real encounters, an attempt by ancient scribes to document events that defied human understanding? Across the Mediterranean, the echoes of these stories continued. In Greek mythology, the mighty Titans, the precursors to the gods themselves, were said to have ruled the earth before being overthrown. Towering, powerful, and possessing wisdom beyond that of ordinary men, they bore striking similarities to the skeletal remains discovered in the Peruvian cave. Had the legends of the Titans been inspired by real beings, giants whose existence had been lost to time? In India, the sacred texts of the Hindus spoke of Vimanas, flying chariots that soared across the sky, their descriptions eerily reminiscent of advanced aerial technology. Some scriptures even detailed great wars waged with weapons of unimaginable power, resembling modern depictions of high-energy weaponry. Could these accounts be distorted memories of a long-lost civilization that once possessed knowledge far beyond what we consider possible for the ancient world? Even in the Americas, stories of colossal beings permeated indigenous folklore. The legends of the Inca told of Viracocha, a towering bearded god who arrived from the sea, bringing wisdom and civilization before mysteriously vanishing. The Hopi tribes of North America spoke of the Palatquapi, a race of giant beings who once guided humanity but later retreated beneath the earth. With each new discovery, the archaeologists felt the weight of something far greater than themselves. These were not isolated myths, nor were they simple coincidence. They were pieces of a puzzle, fragments of a truth that had been buried under the sands of time. Had these giants once ruled the ancient world? Were they the true architects of early civilization, their presence now reduced to whispers in forgotten texts? And if they had indeed walked the earth, what had caused their downfall? Had they perished in a great cataclysm? Or had they simply vanished, waiting in the shadows for their time to return? The deeper the archaeologists ventured, the more unsettling the mystery became. This was no longer just a search for historical truth. It was a journey into the very fabric of humanity's past, one that threatened to upend everything they had ever believed. As they pieced together the puzzle, the team found themselves weaving a narrative that stretched across the vast expanse of human history. What if the giants of legend were not mere fabrications, but echoes of a forgotten reality? What if these towering beings had once walked the earth, their influence shaping the course of civilization itself? The implications were staggering, challenging the very foundations of human understanding. The deeper they dug, both literally and metaphorically, the more the lines between myth and history blurred. The architecture of the ancient world, from the towering pyramids of Egypt to the megalithic ruins of Pumapunku, bore evidence of engineering feats that seemed beyond the capabilities of the time. How had civilizations with limited tools and no known advanced technology managed to move and precisely position stones weighing hundreds of tons? Was it possible that these giants, beings of immense knowledge and power, had been the true architects of these wonders, their contributions erased from recorded history? If so, why had they vanished? Had they perished in some cataclysmic event, swept away by time and nature? Or had they deliberately hidden themselves, retreating into the shadows to observe humanity from afar? Theories swirled among the team, each more unsettling than the last. Some suggested that these beings had not been of this world, but visitors from the stars, extraterrestrial travelers who had once guided early humans before disappearing into the cosmos. But others believed something even more extraordinary. What if the giants had never truly left? What if they had simply withdrawn? Their presence now felt only in whispers, shrouded in secrecy, hidden within the forgotten corners of the earth, or perhaps even living among us in ways beyond our comprehension. The fabric of history, it seemed, was woven with the threads of these enigmatic beings. From the towering statues of Easter Island to the cyclopean walls of Sacsayhuaman, every ancient wonder held a clue, a silent testament to an age when gods and giants walked among men. As the archaeologists stood amidst the ruins, staring at the colossal bones they had unearthed, a chilling thought took root. They had spent years searching for the past, for the truth buried beneath centuries of dust and deception. But what if the past was not as distant as they had believed? What if it was watching them even now? The deeper they delved into their research, the more astonishing their findings became. It was no longer just a single discovery in the Peruvian mountains. Similar evidence of towering beings had emerged across the globe, hidden in the ruins of lost civilizations and whispered in the myths of ancient cultures. The past, it seemed, had been trying to tell its story for centuries. In the deserts of Egypt, beneath the shifting sands of Giza, another skeleton of staggering proportions had been unearthed. Unlike anything seen before, its bones were adorned with intricate carvings, hieroglyphs that depicted celestial beings descending from the heavens, their elongated forms mingling with humanity. The figures in the carvings bore uncanny similarities to the Peruvian discovery, their massive frames towering over the human figures beside them. But what truly sent shivers down the spines of the archaeologists was the depiction of an unknown star map, its constellations unrecognizable to modern astronomers. Could it be a record of where these beings had come from? Thousands of miles away, deep in the dense, uncharted forests of North America, indigenous tribes spoke of the ancestors, a race of giants who had arrived from the stars long before humans walked the earth. According to legend, these beings had gifted them with knowledge, secrets of the land, the stars, and the unseen forces that govern the universe. Elders recounted stories passed down for generations, speaking of great skyships that once hovered over the forests, their radiant lights piercing through the darkness. In the remote tundras of Siberia, archaeologists uncovered petrified footprints, each measuring nearly 3 feet in length, pressed deep into ancient rock formations. Geological analysis placed them at least 40,000 years old, long before any known human civilization had existed. Who or what had left them behind? Nearby, ancient petroglyphs told the story of the Skywalkers, beings who had descended from the heavens in chariots of fire, guiding early tribes before vanishing without a trace. In the highlands of Tibet, a hidden monastery held scrolls so fragile they crumbled at the slightest touch. Yet their translations spoke of beings known as the Celestial Guardians, who lived in secret mountain sanctuaries, waiting for a time when humanity would be ready to know the truth. The monks, when asked, spoke in riddles hinting that these beings had never truly left, that they still walked among us in ways beyond human perception. With each new revelation, the archaeologists felt the weight of an unspoken truth pressing down on them. This was not coincidence. This was not myth. It was a pattern, one that spanned continents, cultures, and millennia. The evidence was undeniable. Humanity's history was not its own. It had been shaped, guided, and perhaps even manipulated by forces beyond comprehension. And if these giants had once roamed the earth, leaving behind their knowledge, their ruins, and their secrets, had they truly disappeared? Or were they still out there, watching, waiting for the right moment to return? As news of the discovery spread like wildfire, it ignited a storm of controversy. Scientists, historians, conspiracy theorists all clashed in heated debates, each vying to prove or disprove the connection between the colossal remains and extraterrestrial life. Television networks ran special reports, documentaries were commissioned, and online forums buzzed with speculation. Skeptics, armed with their own interpretations of history, wasted no time in attempting to dismantle the sensational claims. Experts from leading institutions dismissed the findings as nothing more than a case of mistaken identity. An extinct species of megafauna, perhaps a prehistoric primate, or even an elaborate hoax designed to stir public fascination. They argued that ancient civilizations often created myths to explain natural phenomena, and that the concept of giants was merely a metaphor for divine beings rather than physical entity. People have always sought to fill the gaps in history with legends. One renowned anthropologist stated in a televised debate, "The idea of towering beings descending from the heavens is nothing more than a reflection of human imagination, a way to make sense of the unknown." Yet despite the skepticism, the archaeologists remained steadfast. Their findings weren't based on mere folklore. They had tangible evidence. Bones that defied conventional explanations, carvings that depicted impossible scenes, and artifacts that suggested knowledge far beyond the capabilities of ancient civilizations. The femur alone, nearly twice the size of that of a modern human, hinted at a species that should not have existed. The skull, elongated and possessing a cranial capacity far exceeding that of Homo sapiens, raised more questions than answers. Then there were the inexplicable anomalies. Radiocarbon dating placed the remains at over 12,000 years old, aligning with the end of the last ice age, a period that had long been believed to mark the dawn of civilization. How could a being of such proportions have lived alongside early humans? And why were similar accounts of giants found in unrelated cultures across the world? From the Nephilim in biblical texts to the Rakshasas of Hindu lore, the public was captivated, torn between the allure of an earth-shattering revelation and the comfort of established history. Some believed wholeheartedly, their imaginations fueled by ancient astronaut theories, while others remained skeptical, demanding irrefutable proof. But the most unsettling question loomed over everyone. If these beings had truly existed, where had they gone? Had they perished in some forgotten catastrophe? Or had they left Earth entirely? And if they had left, would they ever return? The turning point in their research came unexpectedly, a discovery that sent shivers down the spines of even the most seasoned archaeologists. While conducting further excavations near the site of the giant of the Andes, they stumbled upon a hidden entrance, a narrow crevice barely visible beneath layers of sediment and overgrown vegetation. The passage, choked with dust and time, led downward into the heart of the mountain. With flashlights in hand and breath held in anticipation, they ventured into the abyss, unaware that they were about to uncover something that would challenge everything humanity thought it knew. As they descended into the darkness, the walls of the cavern began to reveal themselves. At first, they appeared to be mere stone, smooth and ancient. untouched for millennia. But then, as the light from their torches danced across the surface, they saw them. Carvings. Not crude etchings made by primitive hands, but intricate depictions that spoke of an intelligence far beyond what history had recorded. The first images were unmistakable. Colossal figures, their proportions eerily similar to the giant skeleton they had unearthed. These beings were shown standing among humans, towering over them like deities of old. They were not warriors, nor did they appear monstrous. Instead, their posture suggested wisdom, guidance, a presence that had once walked among early civilizations as mentors or rulers. But as they moved deeper into the chamber, the images became even more astounding. Star maps adorned the ceilings, precise constellations that matched no known ancient civilization's records. The stars were not randomly scattered. They seemed to follow a pattern, a map leading somewhere beyond Earth. And then there were the symbols, strange, unfamiliar glyphs that bore an uncanny resemblance to modern depictions of UFOs. Disc-shaped objects hovered above the giants, beams of light extending downward, as if pulling or placing something onto the earth. The implications were staggering. These were not merely the ramblings of an ancient culture lost to time. This was a message, left behind with intention. Was it a warning? A historical account? Or perhaps a guide, an invitation to seek out something greater? One archaeologist, her voice barely above a whisper, muttered what everyone was thinking. They wanted us to find this. The air in the chamber was thick with an unshakable weight, a feeling that they were standing at the threshold of a revelation that could alter the course of human history. If the carvings were true, if these giants had once roamed the earth and had knowledge of the cosmos far beyond what was thought possible, then humanity had been walking in the shadows of forgotten gods. But one question lingered in the minds of the researchers, pressing against the edges of their sanity. Had the giants truly vanished? Or had they merely been waiting? The narrative had transformed from a remarkable discovery to an enigma demanding urgent answers. If these giants were indeed visitors from beyond the stars, what had become of them? Did they leave willingly, ascending into the heavens from which they came? Or had something far more sinister forced their departure? The archaeologists, now consumed by a desperate need to unravel the truth, began to explore every possible theory. One possibility stood out among the rest. An ancient cataclysm, a catastrophe so immense that it either wiped out the giants entirely or forced them to flee. Could it have been a cosmic disaster, as an asteroid strike, a supervolcanic eruption that reshaped the Earth and rendered it uninhabitable for these beings? Or was it something more deliberate, more intelligent? A war, perhaps, between these giants and another force unknown to history? Their suspicions deepened when they uncovered further evidence buried within the underground chambers. Among the carvings depicting the celestial maps and towering beings, another series of images emerged, ones that hinted at a violent end. The depictions showed the giants standing in defiance against a force from above, beams of energy raining down upon them like divine punishment. Some carvings illustrated what appeared to be the destruction of entire landscapes, cities crumbling beneath the weight of an unseen power. Had the giants been at war with another species, perhaps even their own kind? Had they fallen victim to an invasion? Or had they themselves overstepped their boundaries, invoking the wrath of something greater? The questions gnawed at the researchers then, sending chills through their veins as they tried to comprehend the implications. Then came the most haunting revelation of all. In the deepest recess of the chamber, beneath layers of dust and time, they uncovered an object that defied explanation. A metallic artifact, unlike anything crafted by human hands. It was cold to the touch, emitting a faint hum, as though still carrying the remnants of an energy beyond earthly comprehension. Strange symbols were etched into its surface, the same glyphs found within the carvings. For a long moment, no one spoke. The realization settled upon them like an unbearable weight. This was not just an ancient relic. It was a remnant of something far older than human civilization itself. The implications stretched beyond history, beyond science, beyond even belief. If the giants had they left clues behind for their return? Or worse, were they never meant to return at all? And if they had been forced into exile, who or what had been powerful enough to drive them away? As the team unveiled their findings to the world, the reaction was immediate and explosive. Some hailed the discovery as the most significant archaeological breakthrough of the century, a revelation that could rewrite the history books and force humanity to reconsider its origins. Others, however, were quick to denounce the claims, dismissing them as nothing more than pseudoscience and sensationalism. The scientific community found itself split into two factions: those who dared to explore the radical implications of the evidence, and those who clung to conventional explanations, unwilling to entertain the notion that Earth's past might be far stranger than previously believed. Heated debates erupted across academic circles, conferences, and media platforms. Skeptics insisted that the so-called giants were nothing more than misidentified remains of prehistoric megafauna, their size exaggerated by erosion and time. Others argued that the carvings and celestial maps were simply ancient mythological storytelling, not proof of extraterrestrial contact. Yet, despite the criticism, the fascination with the discovery only intensified. The public was captivated by the mystery, drawn to the possibility that history had concealed something extraordinary. Documentaries were produced, featuring interviews with the archaeologists and experts from various fields. Books flooded the market, each offering different interpretations, some grounded in science, others weaving the discovery into ancient alien theories and lost civilization conspiracies. A movement began to take shape. Enthusiasts, historians, and independent researchers banded together, determined to uncover the truth. Online forums buzzed with speculation, connecting dots between similar discoveries across the globe. Sightings of unidentified aerial phenomena, UAPs, were re-evaluated in light of the findings, as some theorized that these giants, or their descendants, might still be watching from afar. Then, something unexpected happened. Other researchers, inspired by the discovery in Peru, began revisiting old excavation sites with fresh eyes. In doing so, they uncovered new anomalies, skeletal remains with proportions that defied normal human anatomy, ancient ruins with symbols eerily similar to those found in the underground chambers. Suddenly, the evidence was no longer isolated. It was appearing across multiple continents, from the desolate plains of Mongolia to the frozen tundras of Antarctica. Governments took notice. Funding was quietly allocated for further research, though some suspected that authorities had known about such discoveries for decades but had chosen to suppress them. conspiracy theories ran rampant. Were the giants merely a lost civilization, or were they something more? Had their departure from Earth been voluntary, or had they been forcibly removed? And most disturbingly, if they had been exiled, had they ever truly left? As the world debated, one thing became clear. The past was no longer just a matter of history. It was a mystery waiting to be unraveled, a truth buried beneath the sands of time, daring humanity to uncover what had been hidden for millennia. In the years that followed, the archaeologists tirelessly pursued the truth, determined to uncover the full story of these enigmatic beings. Their efforts led them to sites previously dismissed as mere folklore, hidden temples deep within the jungles, forgotten ruins beneath the ocean, and caves sealed off for millennia. With each new excavation, the mystery deepened. They unearthed tools that seemed far too advanced for their time, intricately crafted instruments made from metals that should not have existed in the ancient world. Some of these artifacts exhibited properties that defied scientific explanation, resisting corrosion or displaying an unnatural luminescence when exposed to certain frequencies of light. Were these remnants of a lost technology, or were they gifts bestowed upon early humans by beings who had long since vanished? The structures they discovered were equally perplexing. Monolithic stones, too large for primitive civilizations to have moved with their known technology, were arranged with a precision that modern engineers struggled to replicate. Some ruins were designed in perfect alignment with celestial events, marking solstices, equinoxes, and even the complex movements of distant planets. It was as if these ancient architects had not only observed the stars, but had understood their significance in ways beyond current human comprehension. Perhaps most astonishing were the artifacts. Tablets, etched with symbols that bore a striking resemblance to modern depictions of galaxies and star systems. Maps that charted constellations invisible to the naked eye, and relics that depicted towering figures standing alongside humans, their forms shrouded in auras of light. These discoveries painted a picture of a civilization that had not only communicated with something beyond this world, but had also shared knowledge that should have been impossible for their time. With every new piece of evidence, the skeptics' arguments grew weaker, but resistance remained. The idea that history might not be as linear as once believed, that humanity's progress may have been influenced by forces beyond Earth, was too radical for some to accept. Institutions feared the implications. Religious groups debated the meaning of these findings, and governments remained suspiciously silent. But the truth could not be buried. The research team, now backed by a growing movement of independent scientists and historians, pushed forward. They pieced together ancient myths from around the world, connecting them with the physical evidence they had uncovered. The stories of gods descending from the heavens, of beings who had imparted wisdom before mysteriously vanishing, no longer seemed like mere legends. They felt like memories passed down through time, fragmented echoes of a forgotten past. The final breakthrough came when they discovered a chamber deep beneath a site previously thought to be fully explored. Hidden behind layers of stone, untouched for thousands of years, was a mural that sent shockwaves through the archaeological community. It depicted a colossal figure reaching out towards the stars, surrounded by smaller human-like beings. In its hand, it held what appeared to be a glowing sphere, an object eerily reminiscent of modern depictions of energy fields or even technology far beyond human capability. Below, an inscription, now partially eroded, contained a single phrase in an ancient language. When translated, it read, "They came before us, they guided us, and they will return." The discovery left the world with more questions than answers. Who were these beings? Why did they leave? And most importantly, what would happen when they returned? Ultimately, the narrative they crafted was not just about giants and extraterrestrials. It was about the very essence of human curiosity, the relentless pursuit of knowledge, the unyielding desire to understand our place in the vast cosmos. Their discoveries had shattered conventional wisdom, blurring the lines between myth and reality, science and spirituality. With each new revelation, they were forced to reconsider everything they thought they knew about history, civilization, and the origins of humanity itself. As they stood before the towering skeletons, the weight of their findings settled upon them like an unspoken truth, one that transcended generations and cultures. These beings were more than just relics of an ancient past. They were evidence of something greater, a silent testament to a forgotten chapter of human existence. Were they visitors from another world, guiding early civilizations with knowledge beyond comprehension? Or had they been here from the beginning, woven into the very fabric of our evolution? The implications were staggering. If these giants had once walked among humans, shaping the course of early societies, what else had been lost to time? Were there other civilizations buried beneath the sands, waiting to be rediscovered? Were there hidden messages encoded in ancient texts? Artifacts left behind as breadcrumbs for those willing to seek the truth. The world took notice. The discoveries ignited a global conversation, drawing the attention of scholars, philosophers, and visionaries alike. Scientists debated the genetic implications of such beings. Historians revisited ancient texts with fresh eyes, and theologians questioned whether these figures had been the inspiration for the gods of legend. Documentaries chronicled the journey of the archaeologists, and books were written about the possible implications for the future of humanity. The boundaries between faith and reason, history and speculation, grew ever thinner. Yet, amid the chaos and controversy, a realization took hold. This was more than just an exploration of the past. It was an invitation to reimagine the future. If the ancients had possessed knowledge that far surpassed their time, then perhaps humanity was on the verge of rediscovering something profound. Something that could alter the course of civilization once more. The archaeologists knew their journey was far from over. The answers they sought were still hidden in forgotten ruins, in untranslatable scripts, in the very stars that had guided ancient travelers millennia ago. As they gazed upon the towering remnants of beings who had once shaped the earth, they understood that they were not merely uncovering history. They were standing at the threshold of a new era, one where the mysteries of the universe were no longer confined to myth and legend, but were woven into the very reality of human existence. And so, with renewed determination, they pressed forward. Not just as archaeologists, but as pioneers of a truth far greater than they had ever imagined. As they gazed into the night sky, the stars shimmered like ancient sentinels, silent witnesses to the passage of time. The vast expanse above seemed to whisper secrets, echoes of a forgotten era when the giants roamed the earth. It was a humbling realization. Their discoveries were not just remnants of a lost civilization, but pieces of a cosmic puzzle, a story written across the heavens and etched into the bones of beings who had once stood where they stood now. The archaeologists felt an undeniable connection, as if the universe itself was urging them to look deeper, to remember. Had the giants truly vanished? Or had they merely stepped beyond the veil of human perception, waiting for the right moment to return? Perhaps they had ascended to the very stars they had once mapped in their ancient carvings, watching over humanity from a place beyond time. Or maybe their knowledge had been passed down in ways yet to be understood, hidden in symbols, myths, and the very DNA of mankind. They pondered the possibilities, the intricate carvings on the underground walls, the celestial maps, the inexplicable artifacts. Were they clues left behind for a future generation capable of deciphering their meaning? What if humanity was not merely the descendant of primitive ancestors, but the inheritor of a cosmic legacy? The thought sent shivers down their spines. In the stillness of the night, the weight of their journey settled upon them. They were no longer just archaeologists. They were seekers of truth, explorers on the brink of uncovering something that could redefine existence itself. The stars, once distant and indifferent, now felt like beacons guiding them toward a revelation greater than anything they had ever imagined. Perhaps the giants were not truly gone. Perhaps their story had never ended. It had only been waiting for humanity to awaken, to reclaim the knowledge that had been lost to time. And as the team stood beneath the infinite sky, they knew their work was far from over. The answers they sought lay not only in the ruins of the past, but in the limitless expanse of the cosmos. With renewed determination, they turned their eyes to the heavens, ready to embrace the next chapter of their journey. The past had spoken, and the future was listening.